welcome to NifnexTV, and we're talking about 3 months to go to Christmas. What are the things that you're going to be doing as far as sales, leads, and marketing? So we've got an awesome panel here. We've got Conrad Francis from InspiredMoney talking about how do you actually make your sales calls. Considering Conrad's in insurance seems to be one of the most regulated and the hardest sales, if I can say that, Conrad. Yep. And Conrad's going to share how he actually makes his calls as well. So he's going to share some really valuable information. Diann from the Creative Fusion. Diann's creative, very creative. So Diann's going to share insights on how you should really be looking after your clients. How should you really be thanking your clients for for being with you all this time, the whole year. And looking after your clients just means that they're going to get repeat business as well. Doug is going to talk about sales and leads, all these people coming to your social media and your website. How do you sort of capture their stuff, their details, and convert them? Can I get you to please introduce yourselves a little bit more, better than what I did, and let's get into it. I'll get you to start on the other side.
So thank you for the intro session. So my name is Doug, and just under about 6 years ago, I started a digital marketing agency with 2 other friends from uni. It's gone really well, been really blessed. It's grown very fast in a short period of time. And the whole basis of what we do is we really focus on the clients in terms of not just getting them a website, but taking it to the next level where you have a website, now how do you get website traffic and then actually convert that traffic, but not just converting the traffic, but actually measuring it, analysing it, and feeding it back into your marketing. So that's predominantly what I've been doing for the last 6 years.
Awesome. So how do you address the sales and leads from a social media and web traffic point of view?
Yep, so good question. I'll break that up into 2 components. So with the lead up to Christmas, the number 1 lead generation tool on the internet right now is Google. There is nothing that beats it. So when I talk about Google, I talk about 2 things: SEO, or search engine optimization, so ranking organically at the top of Google when someone types something in, and Google AdWords. And the reason why I say that's the number 1 sort of lead generation tool is because when someone types something to Google, you know their buyer intent. You just have to appear at the top and get them coming to your website. So for example, if you sell handbags online, if someone types buy handbag online, handbag review, Gucci reviews, you already know what they're looking for, so you know their intent. And I know a lot of people think that AdWords is expensive, but if you actually dive into it and you do it properly, and you set up, and I'm going quite technical here, but it's all good. So if you set up your ad groups properly, your ads, you're converting copy, and make sure you have what we call a quality score. So what ads you set up in AdWords actually matches the landing pages on your website, you'll get a higher quality score. And what that means is then Google will reward you with a lower cost per click, and you'll get a higher click-through rate, which means you'll appear at the top.
Do you think Google ads are overtaking SEO?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. In fact, SEO is just like Google's just rolled out Panda 4.1, which is another change, and it's just consistently happening. And this is just off topic. Sorry, what was your name?
Sam.
Sam, great question. This is something off topic, but one of my other clients the other day we found out that she's been hit by negative SEO, which means a competitor has hit her with what we call backlinks, and 38,000 of them, with things like sites pointing from Viagra all the way to her site to remove her. So it's a bit of a crazy time in terms of the SEO field. So a lot of businesses are moving to AdWords. So I think it is one of the best investments in terms of a controlled environment. So you spend $1, you make 5. And then I'll just keep going.
Yes, please.
And then in terms of social media, I think the biggest thing is I see a lot of businesses use social media as a brand awareness tool, which is great. But I think a lot of businesses leave a lot of money on the table because they don't realise that social media is actually a really good lead generation tool. And the way that works is actually having a proper sales funnel behind your social media. So, you know, if you were, and Conrad will probably speak more about this, but when you meet a new client, you've got a certain sales process. You meet with them, coffee, proposal, follow-up, no response within a week, email. Yeah, so in terms of that, in terms of, sorry, I just lost my thought there. What was I saying?
Sales funnel.
Sales funnel, yeah. You just need a proper sales funnel. So what you have in the offline world, you've got to make sure you have in the online world. And that's it from me.
So once they're there, is there something that you can do to convert those, especially on social media itself? Like you put something up on Facebook, especially on your page, they land up there. How do you convert them? How do you capture their details to maybe get them to take action for something?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll throw something out there. So how many of you guys think that you run a Facebook ad and increasing your page likes is a good thing? Yeah, some people think. Okay. So if you do that, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, your fan page increases by, say, 1,000 likes. Facebook owns your fan page, not you. So they could shut it down at any instant. So I think what's effective about using a sales funnel is getting those people clicking on the ads, using great copy, and then getting them to join your mailing list. Then you can remarket to them over and over again. You own the mailing list, that's your asset. And then right before Christmas, do a soft sell approach, hit them with all your special Christmas offers.
Perfect. Now that they're on the leads, they're on the sales funnel, we probably have to speak to Conrad on what should the people be doing to get the sales calls happening. And how do you approach it at the moment?
Thanks, Leishan. I run a financial planning business with mortgage broking referral partners as well. So sales and leads for me have taken some time to build up, but over the years that I've been in the business, it's the best leads I get generally these days are a referred business. Notwithstanding that, I still do market online. And the ultimate issue with any sort of activity is follow-up, and that's where a good sales funnel will keep you in contact with your pipeline until you can get in front of them or until you can close the deal. And that's something that we've spent a bit of time on with our CRM and with our efforts with our database. We've got over 2,000 clients and staying in contact with them and being relevant to them is important, particularly when you look at the cost to service people. Face to face is the most expensive mode of communication and medium to use. So emails, videos. This type of stuff, when we can get it out to clients, it at least puts you front and square in their minds. But in saying that, in relation to email, what I've realised over the last few years is that people's decline rate of open emails is becoming as big as the envelopes that sit in their envelope in their letterboxes at home. So getting to them in their social media, which is what they're reading on the buses and the trains and probably in the cars when they shouldn't be. It's those types of things that, whether they realise it or not, and I think, Douglas, you talked about it a couple of episodes back, people are more in tune and more, I suppose, guided by the notifications and those type of things coming through in their social media. So being very relevant and to your client and knowing your client is the most important thing, so the relevance is there.
So to put you on the spot there, so you've got the list.
Yep.
You're going to make that call.
Yes.
And of course, they're your customer, then you're sort of keeping in touch.
Yes.
But is there a format that you follow? Do you email them first to say, hey, this is me, thank you for subscribing and whatnot? And then maybe making the call, or just sort of pick up the phone, or just keep purely email for to start with?
Generally, it's an email, or depends which medium they've come through. It's an email or an instant message back to them, acknowledging that you received the information, and then framing the time frame for the phone call, and engaging that way, and then making the phone call within the time frame that you've said you would. And most of the time, people are fairly responsive to it because they've connected to you for a reason. If you are very specific with the way you go about your marketing, and most of the time you'll get a connection, most of the time you'll get a phone call, happening, and obviously from connection to phone call to meeting, there is some drop-off rates. So you need to be making enough attempts or phone calls to get those meetings in the door.
I think a lot of people don't follow up.
That's right. That's the key, and that's marketing 101. Is great to put the stuff out in the mail, great to have the campaigns out there, but where's the follow-up?
Speaking about the mail and the message that's going out, marketing plays a huge part, and having a creative twist to it plays a big part. I came across the story where a blind man sitting at the corner of the street had a sign out there saying, "Blind, please help," and no one's just putting any dollars at all, just walking past. This marketing guy comes up and he goes, flips the chart around, writes something else, puts there, walks away, and the ball's full of money after the end of the day. So he goes, "What the hell? What did you write?" Sorry, I shouldn't be saying hell. What did you write? And what he had written was, "It's a beautiful day. I can't see it. You can." So I thought it's a.
It was a girl that did it, not a guy.
Yeah, it's reframing. Just reframing the same situation.
Yeah.
So it's a creative angle, and
Yes, yeah.
talking about creativity, Diann, can I get you to talk about
Certainly.
newsletters, and how do you sort of keep in touch with people as well?
Well, I'm actually going to talk about a lot more than newsletters.
Sure.
And the key to success for your sort of Christmas period. So Christmas is a time for giving, and I think a lot of businesses forget that. And at the end of the day, it's about selling their product or service, and that comes across as very salesy. So one great idea is to think about how you can give, and it might be about giving a sort of a special discount or offer or a gift voucher, etc., and saying thanks for the year that's just passed. And a key to success of all marketing is originality. If your strategy that you're rolling out looks the same as the next lawyer, accountant, doctor, dentist or whatever, then you've got no unique point of difference. So making sure that whatever you're doing is original. So the other thing to remember is that in 3 months, Christmas is going to be done and dusted, and then there's time for the January sales. And I don't know how you guys feel, but you walk into Coles and Easter hot cross buns are already on sale on New Year's Day. So sometimes as a small, medium business, there's things to think about what the big boys are doing and how that you can use that in your businesses, and whether you basically need to be gearing up for those things. Personally, I think it's disgusting that you can buy Easter eggs at the middle of Christmas, but there you go. So also very important to lock in a strategy, and most small, and as Douglas was saying, a lot of small, medium enterprise businesses just don't do that. It's last minute, ad hoc, that type of thing. We all know these seasonal changes are coming throughout the year, whether it be Easter or winter or summer, etc. So just plan ahead and get some strategic to-do points around that so it makes it happen. Be wary of just saying season's greetings, like Merry Christmas, Happy Easter or whatever it is. You need to invest in creative design, writing and marketing, and use humour. Humour's a great, a break point in terms of touching and resonating with current and prospective content. And if you've got that content, then use it in a video or share it across multiple platforms, your Facebook, your LinkedIn or wherever it may be. And also move, I think I've sort of captured this, but move from being generic to being unique, and from being bland to being engaging. And, if you're putting out a piece, measure it by that. Is this piece having those points of reference? Another thing to understand is there's a lot more going on at this time of the year. We've got end of school, holidays, New Year's resolutions, the beginning of summer, the end of summer, back to school. And how can your business or service help people out in all those critical and important times of year, and market to those as well? I think I mentioned about just sticking to a strict schedule, getting getting a plan in place, and making sure that you give clients and customers a sufficient time to come back to you. There's no point putting out that buy one, get one free today, and they've got a very limited time to come back to you. So thinking about that planning as well. Brands and marketing are often confused. Plastering your logo everywhere and spruiking me, me, me any time of the year is not a good plan and not a good investment of your resources. Mega companies like Coca-Cola, I don't know if you notice that every year, I mean, Coke is synonymous with summer, they will roll out a campaign across summer. And I know smaller businesses don't necessarily have the budget of the big businesses, but you really need to focus on having some sort of campaign going. Random acts of kindness as well is another thing to think about. Think about giving to a charity, and then of course, you know, using that in your social media, etc. And I guess in closing, monitor and return your return on investment and measure it. Make sure that your business has a customer review process. That's, you know, getting those testimonials is a very valuable asset. Nothing beats face-to-face, I think. If you're a small business and you haven't got a big budget, get out there and get facing your clients. Say to the client, let them fall in love with you, nothing like a smile. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas from Diann at Creative Fruition.
Awesome. There's some very valid points there. I mean, I think all of them are very valid, I should say. But so obviously we know what we're doing for the next 3 months. We're going to be investing a little bit on AdWords, making sure that they click and come into the website and just to capture the details. You're going to do all the follow-ups, because if you don't follow up, it's going to just you're going to lose them there. And you've got to be very creative and have a point of difference, as Diann said. So open it up to the Q&A at the moment. So does anyone have questions in regards to sales, leads, and marketing? Slowly.
I have a question for Douglas. I have a website that I created in OptimizePress.
Yep.
What is your advice for small business owners who run their own websites to increase their SEO? What are the things we must do and we must focus on to make sure we get?
Yep, great question. So I'll break it into two components. So the first component is your SEO basics. So stuff like sitemaps, robots.txt, meta tags. And then the second part is content marketing. So the way that the Google algorithm has been kind of rewritten in the last couple of months is it's been a strong focus on semantic searches. So say, for example, instead of necessarily someone typing into Google, where do I buy, you know, Gucci handbags, the semantic search would be, what you do in the past is you'd have that keyword, where do you buy Gucci handbags, in your actual copy, and you'd kind of repeat it a few times, and that was kind of how you ranked. But what Google's actually looking for now is the value to the user and the content behind it. So yes, talk about where do you find Gucci handbags, but then really give that value about, you need to do this, you need to go here, here's some great pricing, here's some great reviews, this is what you need to look out for. Google's algorithm is actually very smart in picking up that sort of stuff. So definitely content marketing, and in terms of that dovetails into having your own blog.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so in other words, if you have a strong blog, does that mean you'll have stronger SEO?
Yes, in terms of long tail keywords. So the whole...
What are long tail keywords?
Yep. So I'm going very technical, it's just what I do. But basically the difference between a short tail and a long tail keyword is a short tail keyword would be something like, buy Gucci handbags. A long tail keyword would be like, where do I buy a red-brown Gucci handbag that has one strap? Because when you write a blog, you cover so many of these different sort of long tail sort of phrases, you then start to naturally rank for them. Because it's not a common term put into Google, but because you've mentioned it in your blog, you capture that low-hanging fruit. So that's the whole point of having a blog. And Google will reward you with higher rankings because you've got fresh content.
Thank you.
That's right.
Two questions. The question about blogs. A lot of companies link the blogs to the website. A lot of companies actually go outsource and go to Tumblr or Tumblr blog, and then they post the blog on an external, third-party websites. What's the best for in terms of creating links to your own website? Do it externally or internally? That's the first question. The second one.
Yep. I would have it first internally, if possible. We've had some clients that, for some reason, they cannot have a blog on their own website because they've got another web developer, so they have an external blog, say on Tumblr or Blogspot. But definitely have it internally, because everything that is written in the blog gets affected or adds to the value of the actual domain name that covers that blog. So if you have it in a separate sort of website or in a separate subdomain, you don't get as much SEO value as if it was in the same website. So if you can do it internally, do it internally.
And another one is, these days everything can be copied. So you develop something unique, you develop the content for your website, which what people are looking for. And all of a sudden, your competitors will go to your website and copy it across.
Yeah.
It used to be a system, Google Authorship, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But now they actually closed it. So is there any way you can protect the content for your website at all?
Yeah, good question. I think when competitors do that, great, let them do that. And the reason why I say that is, yes, Google Authorship is gone, but they'll still get slapped with a duplicate content penalty. So as long as you write the content first and the Google bot comes to your website first and it's read your content, it attributes that content to you as a site owner. Anyone that copies it, they'll get slapped with a penalty. So yeah, just write original content and you'll be all right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Any more questions?
I do.
Oh, Dianne's got one.
Dianne.
Yes, I've got a question for you. What's your comment on Google AdWords? I have a lot of clients and just colleagues, etc., saying, yeah, but Google AdWords are ads. And it's kind of like reading a newspaper where people know the material around the outside of the newspaper was an ad and the content in the middle was bona fide journalism. And there's this weird perception that the top 3 ads on the top and down the side are ads, but everything else underneath is not. And, I go into explanation, well, actually, people have worked really hard. You're paying lots of money to be there, but they've also worked hard and sometimes paid lots of money to be in the top 3, 5 organic ones. Yeah. Do you have any stats that are detailing that people are actually not looking at those ads, even though you were just saying before that it's a better place to be?
Yeah. Well, historically, 30% of all clicks will go to the top 2 positions on AdWords.
On AdWords, yeah.
Because one thing you'll notice is...
Before organic search?
Correct,
okay.
Correct. So 30% will go to the top 2.
Yeah.
And Google are very smart. I tell you guys, go on Google, have a look, Google search something, and you notice that the ads on the top are actually, the colouring behind it is almost the same as the organic. Plus, and the only way you can tell the difference is a little word saying ad on the bottom left, so you can almost not tell that it's an ad. I don't even bother on the right-hand side because, like you said, that newspaper style layout, you need to be in the first 2. Yeah. And some of those things I mentioned before, if you put that in place, you get to the top 2. That's a good question, though.
It just seems to me that it's obvious that Google, being such a dominant player, surely they're going to ensure that they get the money rather than some SEO company. So it seems to me that, as you say, they're starting to change the Google ads more and more and just make them more overpowering compared to the organic SEO.
If it was me,
indistinguishable.
If it was me, I'd take out I think there's a ruled line and that little thing saying ad. I think it has changed over time, but if I was Google and wanted to get more funding from that, you'd take it out completely and there'd just be the top 3, 4 that appeared.
Absolutely.
So we've got more questions.
In the States, apps seem to be more advanced than they are here. Is it something that nobody talks about very much these days? Is there a reason for that?
What's that?
Oh, anyone?
I feel like I've answered so much. Don't want to be a hog. But in terms of apps, it's a good question. I think my business used to do apps, to be honest, but we stopped because we found a lack of developers, and secondly, it's hard to price it because apps can be anything from a business app to a game. How do you price that? So we stopped it, but during that period we did find that a lot of businesses were jumping on the bandwagon to get apps purely because it was a buzzword thing. But I think bigger companies are now moving towards apps purely because of the amount of people on smartphones. Like a lot of our client websites, you look at the Google Analytics, like 50% of website visits are now coming from a mobile or a tablet. So they're just tapping into that. So, yeah.
Again, it's about relevance though, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the app going to do? Is it going to is it going to make someone's day easier?
Yeah.
If it's not, then the investment in it, and we've looked at it on a few different levels, and couldn't see the value.
Yeah, completely depends on what you're doing, pretty much what your company, what your business does.
Yep.
We've got an app coming up. It's going to start pushing all the articles that we've got to clients, so the person who's downloaded the app. So for a business like us, I think it'd be good.
You've got to use horses for courses, don't you?
Correct.
And just in answer to the question before, where you were talking about print versus online. Now, obviously, there's a huge push to online, but there are some stats out there saying that a HTML email newsletter that lots of businesses like to send out, the read rate of those is like under 10%. But stats equally that have been done on a good old-fashioned printed newsletter that goes out is something like 80% in comparison, but you're paying for post, you've got the design costs, and you've got the print. But if you're getting 80% readership and action out of that, if you've got good calls to action and you're measuring it, like whether it's radio, television, or whatever media, you have to look at the return on investment. So that's something to think about, that maybe when there's a blank canvas over here, it's a place to go to get in front of people.
Shall we? Sorry, do you have another question? I was going to wrap it
just
up.
one more. I know you mentioned blogs, and by having blogs you keep your website updated. What about newsletters? Does that have the same impact, or is a newsletter considered, I don't know, like a silent? It's not the same as blogging, if you know what I mean.
No, newsletters are so important. I'm going to touch upon it. I'm going to hand over to Diann because she's an expert in it. But honestly, newsletters are a big thing, because if you build up a database of, say, 4,000 people, newsletters is what is keeping you to form that relationship with that person, for them to just stick around, and at that point where they're in the buying cycle, they're ready to buy.
Yeah.
That's what's keeping you in it. So,
I mean, that's what you said earlier about your whole sales process, is making sure that you've got regular touch base points. Now, whether that's a phone call, whether that's a newsletter, whether it's a flyer, but again, they need to be targeted, and it's not just sending out willy-nilly marketing material that's going to go in the bin. There's got to be something that's resonating with the person that you're speaking to. And
Sorry, just to take the newsletter thing a step further. You have newsletters, and you have newsletters that look like magazines.
yes,
And you also have newsletters that are just emails that you have to click on to go into the newsletter.
Yep.
Which one is the best one to go with? So if you were starting out, would you go with the sort of everyday newsletter, maybe one main topic, the news magazine look and feel, or here's a little wee email, here's my link, go and have a look? Which would be the best one to go to?
if it was me,
Yeah.
I at the moment would actually go print. And I would be very careful about understanding my audience and what they want to hear. A newsletter is about giving, it's about educating, and it's about a soft sell. So you have to be very careful to be me in it, and it should include things like top tips and hints and things for what you want to do, have lots of calls to action. But I just think you're going to get a higher readership rate. But what puts us, as I say, a lot of people off is, I've had to pay for posts and I've had to pay for this. But if you go and send out 10, 20,000 emails to somebody and it doesn't get you that return on an investment, if you're clever, you use both and you send out an email and you send out a printed form to touch both markets of people who are likely to read.
Yeah. I got an email from a chap, many chaps, but this one in particular. He writes, dear Karen, that's very nice. But he also says, I thought you may be interested in this, and he goes, this little thing, I found it fascinating, and then he gives you a link to somewhere else. And it is just as if he's a friend to the student, and he's writing to me that way.
Yeah.
To link to you, to say this I thought might be helpful or useful. And that's about making a connection without
Absolutely.
any need.
Yeah, yeah.
And is that if you were going, if you were choosing, because you've only got, as a small business, you've only got so much time and
Exactly.
resource.
Exactly.
And my question really is, which is the best choice to make the maximum connection and to say, look at me, I'm fabulous. But
I think
in a way that's not
maximum connections are actually getting in front of somebody face to face. You can't beat that, right? Following up with that is a series of touch-based points. So in my business, I've created these thank you cards, and they're generic and they're blank. And I have a set of 6 of them with a set of 6 blank envelopes. And so they're one of the things I do when I visit a client is I leave them a pack of thank you cards so they can write in the thank you cards and thank other people. And the response rate I've got from that is, oh, I just so love your thank you cards that you left with us. You know, I've used them to write to prospective customers or clients, and they come back and they've sent me thank you cards because they've really loved the whole process of being old school. So sometimes in marketing, you know, there's apps, there's this, there's that, there's the other, but sometimes, you know, maybe just actually come back to some old school ways of doing things. Another thing I have is this massive, huge, chunky pen pad. It's about half a ream of paper that's padded at the top with a pen. My brand stays on someone's desk for a very, very long period of time. Now, that's not a cutting-edge app, and it's not all those sorts of things. So that's what we were sort of saying in terms of your Christmas marketing, is try and just think outside the square. And often as a small business, you can find some really innovative, low-cost things. You try and not necessarily be in the crowd and the masses that are overwhelming everybody else, I think.
and they could, you know, street ducks and George's.
That would just go a treat. You'll get lots of coverage.
You
You won't have any coverage, but you'll get lots
I
of
was just going to
coverage.
talk about the chocolate brownie, but that popped it.
Oh, yes, that was the other thing Zishan was going to mention. Another thing I do, which has won me key corporate clients over time, is when I go to meetings, food is a great thing. I actually learnt this from my dad. He said, if you ever go for a job interview or anything like that, always go at morning tea time, because they'll invite you into the tea room and you'll be able to sit down, you'll get to know people. And so I must have got told that story 1,000 times. So anyway, I had the opportunity to go to this corporate client, and I took in a meeting with about 20 people, and I took in triple choc brownies for everyone at the table. Just suffice to say, that client's been a client of mine for about 17 years.
I'm assuming that wasn't home-made.
No, it wasn't home baked, but I have a very good triple choc brownie supplier, and every meeting I go to, I take triple choc brownies with me. Gives me a point of difference. People always remember it. They always talk about it. Again, you know, thinking outside the square like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be thousands of dollars of print, signage, brochures. It's that often a unique approach, and that's what we like to sort of give to our clients when we're assisting them with their marketing strategies, is just trying to think outside the square.
Thank you. I think we need to sort of wrap it up, considering we've got the next panel should have started 5 minutes ago. Thank you, Doug, Diann, Conrad, and thank you, everyone. So we'll probably take the questions out later, because I think everyone's going to be here for the sundowner on the deck. So thank you.